Hello and welcome to What the Tech from Boast AI, where we talk with some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Jason Taylor, president and founder of CodeLaunch, the free seed accelerator event that pairs tech startups with world-class dev teams to help them raise. They do this by helping very early-stage tech startup founders get their digital products off the ground, increasing their likelihood to launch, raise funding, and succeed as a disruptive startup venture. Jason is an advocate for conscious capitalism and manages the Improving-CodeLaunch FUEL Fund, which deploys investment capital into the growing community of CodeLaunch alumni. So needless to say, Jason knows his way around the startup and tech ecosystem and is expanding his reach this year by bringing the CodeLaunch party up to Toronto for an event that shines a light on Canadian innovation. It'll all culminate in a North America-wide competition down in Texas this fall. But before we dive into the details of that gathering, I can't wait to pick Jason's brain on how he got into the startup space in the first place and some of the exciting innovation he's played a hand in driving in his incredible career to date. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Jason.
Thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Thank you, Boast.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so happy you could join us. I know we just met recently, and I just gave a little bit of your background, but I'd like to hear from you. How did you get into the startup space in the first place?
Oh, boy. So I was running a software development services company, which we call a dev shop in this space. It was called Code Authority. And we started that in 2001. Around 2012, I decided we really hadn't evolved into the bigger brand that I thought we should be, being that we were like 11 years old at that point. We were known to our clients and to our employees and a few other people in Dallas-Fort Worth, where I've lived and worked for 30 years. But some of the other software development brands were more well-known and they were newer. They were not as mature and not as established. So I started getting involved in more things in our community. And of course, you get involved and go looking for tech things to do, you're going to find startup events. And that's when I sort of discovered that Dallas-Fort Worth had an exciting and multifaceted startup ecosystem. And as I'm going to these events, I'm seeing what everybody else is doing. I'm realizing that there's a big problem of awesome startup founders, really believable disruptive product idea, business acumen, and subject matter expertise. But they were having a problem getting that world-class product to the market or even to MVP. And they were having a problem raising without the product. And investors wisely don't want to invest until they see the product and see some traction. It became clear that we needed to produce an event that would give our software development team to a worthy and deserving startup. And so we started the event there in 2013 called CodeLaunch. So at first, we didn't know what we were doing. I had never produced an event that like literally and tried to invite everybody from the tech public scene and provide all the details like food and drink and all the things have to be thought of. So it was a little rough at the beginning, but the idea was good. And it attracted the support of the city of Frisco, where we were. They said, this is really unique. We want you to keep doing this, and we'll help you out. So city of Frisco got behind us, and it grew and grew, and we did this event once per year, every year for the first 8 years through 2020. And in 2019, actually in 2018, we evolved it, kind of became CodeLaunch 2. And that's when it kind of became what it is today, sort of. That's when we were like, we are only helping one startup a year. That's not really moving the needle. That's not going to result in us giving birth to a unicorn. That is just a nice thing to do that is worth some note, but not a huge splash in the like national startup ecosystem. So we evolved it to be a competition amongst software developers and software development brands. And I literally invited my own competition to come in and show me that their team was better than mine by outbuilding a product for a startup that was another startup. So we went from having one a year to as many as we could get team sponsors. And we went from building the code and the product after the event to building it before the event so that the startup founders could demonstrate their product live at CodeLaunch and thank the software development brand that had generously provided the team in a 2-day hackathon format. So that is what attracted Improving. So Improving was one of those teams. They were our competitor. The second year they did it, they took great pride in trying to beat us and show off their software development capabilities. My team was like, wow, other teams are trying to beat us. We better try harder too.
Yeah.
So it became like a competitive sport almost. They said this has a lot of potential, much more than just this. Let's talk about you joining Improving and bringing Code Authority and CodeLaunch into the Improving family. So in October 2019, we closed that deal, and CodeLaunch became the North American marketing flagship for Improving. And ever since then, we've been building a model to take this from market to market, into city to city, and even now country to country, and help local startup ecosystems in the same way everywhere we go, and bring together the software development brands. And it's a lot of fun. There's the origin story.
I love that, Jason. So I got to lead off by giving a shout out to our founder, Lloyd Lobo. I think I had mentioned this when we first met, but he started the Traction community in a very, very similar ethos with how I think you got into the game as well. It was really about, again, just bringing resources to founders within his network. And it ballooned. It started off with like very small success. He was biting off just little bits at a time, turned into a podcast, turned into an event, turned into a whole mess of a community that I say mess in a loving way. So many people wanted their hands in it. They wanted to be part of the journey. They wanted to be part of the success. And it's contagious. To your point, when you make it a little bit competitive too, I think that's extremely exciting. And sure, you do run the risk of maybe showcasing your competitors off, but then a perfect ending is exactly what happened with you guys. You brought yourselves into the fold, and now you're all accomplishing more because the power of this community was just so essential from the jump. So this is so cool. And now I know we talked about it. You're going to be expanding into Canada. I know that there's some Mexico as part of this as well. Tell me a little bit about what that journey is looking like today as you embark on this expansion, more or less.
Well, we we are wrapping up the startup competition part of it. So each CodeLaunch event that ends with a showcase of the best finalists starts about 12 weeks before that, when the startups apply and go through a process that helps them, helps educate them on all the basic structure, getting the basic structures right. The things that if you don't check this box, the investors are going to see that and just say no meeting. So we're trying to get their digital marketing prowess solid. We're trying to get their product market fit exercises leveled up and documented for us. We're trying to get their team to be broad and not narrow in skill set and expertise. And we do get a lot of teams that are really good in the business and subject matter expertise, but lack a core CTO co-founder who can own the product. And then we have a lot that are the opposite, passionate product people, designers, creators, developers that need someone on their team that has sold, has raised, has conducted business at a high level. And so we try to get them together, and then we try to pick the ones that look like they are poised to really benefit from some generous and free elite professional software development on their product. And so that's kind of how we do it. And in Canada, as I stand here and talk to you right now, I know the 6 finalists. They were drafted in the CodeLaunch Professional Coder League draft last Friday with our Canadian partners. We were very fortunate to have earned the support from a group called Olan and another group called Team Pumpkin in Toronto. So anybody that's watching this or listening to this, you're part of a professional software development team. You want to put the Professional Coder League jersey on and show what you can do, and then come to a great turnkey event, which is really a fun and exciting live show / business party. It's cheap. It's an awesome community engagement exercise. It builds team, it builds skill. It lets you work on things that may be a lot more cutting edge than what you work on professionally every day. Our startups are definitely always trying to leapfrog a generation ahead in technology. So it's a great and fun event. You can reach out to us at the CodeLaunch.com contact form, and I can pair you and your team with one of those last two. Our family at Improving will carry the load for those if need be. But I love it when I can get true local engagement maxed out at 4 or 5 teams.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I know you gave us a sneak peek at what's in store for the actual show in Toronto. I'm excited just because the venue itself looks really cool. I'm a big music fan, and I've walked by that venue in Toronto before, and I haven't had an excuse to go in. So you're going to be helping me check that off my bucket list when I join everybody in August up there for the Canadian edition of the Code Launch project. But what I really want to pull back on that you mentioned when you're describing the process too, it's matchmaking, but it's not just even about code. Like you were talking about people with some go-to-market skills, like having them come in and help out when a business maybe is lacking that complementary skill set today, but there are people in that network. That makes us exciting for people, I think, across the startup ecosystem, because I know I've gone to some coding events or hackathons that are pure play hackathons and felt like, I think I know what's going on. I can tell there's something cool in here, but where do I fit into all of this? This is about matchmaking on a larger scale. It's about really securing these teams with the folks that they'll need to achieve success. Would you say that's kind of like a fair characterization of the process here?
Yeah, we definitely, in the startup competition, we make it a focus that they understand that they probably are not going to succeed unless they start thinking bigger. And there's a
Yeah.
little bit, it's a natural human instinct, especially amongst our first-time founders, to think, I can probably do this all myself. I believe in this so much, I can do it myself. And we try to break down those sort of beliefs and make them think wider. Just like Code Launch got bigger when we thought wider. So it was a promoting event and a community event for Code Authority and the Dallas Fort Worth Tech Startups ecosystem. And then it became co-opetition amongst all of technology investors and founders that travels the world when we started thinking bigger. So it takes bravery and faith a little bit, but it's an important step.
I love it. And again, co-opetition. Let's make sure title of episode, if not part of this, co-opetition is what's happening here, because you're encouraging people to take risks and show their wares and also maybe see where they could use a lot more help than they might have thought. And it's not a bad thing too. It's an opportunity to find those complementary resources. So really, really cool. I'd love to know. No one likes picking their favorite baby, of course, but any past projects that have come out of Code Launch that you maybe want to cheerlead or shine a light on that were especially cool to give people a taste out of some of the innovation that they'll see if they attend one of these events.
Yeah, I think when we think about the groups that are still going strong, that we started way back at the first iteration of Code Launch, you can look at Style Row, Google Style Row. The founder, Aaron Valencic, came to Code Launch with no product in 2016. Another group on that 2016 stage, Park Up Front, car community enthusiast, community really, but with a digital technology that makes it possible. Still going strong and heading towards something big. Caracorder, like characters and like chords you play on a piano. Caracorder, probably the most, like one of the most successful. Is already profitable, has employees, has a factory, hundreds of millions of views on social media, on like 4th generation product, and getting more and more attention every day. Also came to Code Launch in 2019 with a 3D printed, I guess, proof of concept, and needed a device driver. Literally could not make it work with a computer yet until someone built them a device driver. So we did that, just handed it to them, and off and running. They were profitable to the extent last year they paid their original investors a dividend. A one-time CEO of Caracorder decided it was time to just pay these guys and thank them. And there are more. I just got off the phone with one before here. Unicorn Forms,
Yeah.
kind of a competitor to DocuSign and Adobe Sign. And literally, the Code Launch team is going to adopt a trial with them to see if we can use it more effectively than Adobe Sign and save some operational costs. And so there's an always growing group. We've made 6 investments out of our fuel fund since we started it. And actually, the only one of those that's in the fuel fund is Caracorder. So the other ones are either still eligible or just really don't need us anymore. In the case of Parker Front and Style Rail, they don't need any more investment. And so, yeah, we have some exciting ones, and we hope to create some more excellent ones in Canada on August 28th.
Awesome. No, that is music to my ears too. And I mean, I didn't want to go too far down the funding road, but I can't not. It's music to my ears too to hear just how successful these companies have been without overexerting themselves. I know both were R&D tax credits. We do that in the States. We do it up in Canada. It's a very, very different funding landscape. But even when we were starting our conversation, Jason, you had mentioned just dev shops, those being great candidates for these kind of opportunities and for the code launch events. We're finding the same thing with our partners up here, just because there's a huge opportunity if you're doing truly unique innovation to cash in on some of that and to help extend your runway without handing over equity too early, but also to stretch those investments you get from the people who are funding your company, from those VCs, from those angels, stretch those further. Show your due diligence in that, hey, we're doing innovation that is so cool, the government wants to help us pay for it, or they want us to recoup a share of it. So I think you're going to find it's an awesome opportunity when you start talking to some of these Canadian businesses who you've already talked to. And I'm excited that we can partner with this ecosystem as well, just because there's so much simpatico here. We were talking with our buddies at VanHack. Shout out to Ilya, who's been on the show at least once. He'll be on again by the time this one drops. But they're partnering with dev shops out in British Columbia with a similar mission. They want to connect them with US companies so that they can start taking advantage of some of that R&D tax credit funding that they wouldn't have if they weren't reaching out into the community. So tying it back to something you said earlier, it doesn't have to be a job that you do alone. I think that people need to be receptive to the opportunity that partners can have for them, that the community can have for them. The unexpected connections you're going to make at events like these that will make your great idea actually become a product someday. Then you get that investment down the line. So it's awesome. It's so cool. And also, Jason, I keep looking at the screen behind you. It's a good thing at how much fun it looks like these events are. So for folks who are maybe thinking about attending the event, whether it's in Toronto in August, Dallas in the fall, or anywhere on the globe that you go to, what are some of the bells and whistles that we'll see when we're there? Or maybe just some of the activities that people can look for other than the traditional hackathon style product showcases?
Okay, so that's one of the things that the reason we have that stuff behind me is because I'm trying to reset expectations once I get someone on a meeting with me. Normally, they think that the hackathon is some part of the event they go to. It's actually not at all. It's not at all on purpose. Believe me, you don't really want to go to a hackathon unless you are the product owner or you are a developer. We bring a film crew and shoot it. We make an exciting, fun 90-second video that promotes the awesome developers and brands that were part of it and the startup founders. And we show that to the audience at the Code Launch live show. The Code Launch live show is like a game show where startups compete, comes to your city, and you are in the audience. And the audience and the judges and the competitors are interactive. There's some surprises on stage that I promise you will never expect to see at a tech startup event. There is true venturetainment, what we call it. We also call it the greatest startup show on earth. And we try to meet that expectation when we produce our show so that people walk away going, wow, I did not realize I was coming to something so much fun, inspirational, and engaging. So I can't tell you all the secrets. I can just tell you that it's loud, it's flashy, it's never boring. In the first round, when pitches go head to head, that's another thing, is we pair them up and they have to beat the other person by the crowd's decision. And then they advance and come back to the stage later and go against each other again. So we're going to take our 6 down to 1 champion together on August 28th. But all of them are going to win. And that's the whole point, is by the time they've gotten there, they're going to get this awesome TV-style production video of their pitch. They're going to get all the software development, the product, the source code, no limitations on the intellectual property. It's all theirs. No equity taken and no cash taken from the startup founders. Because what we're trying to do is not like capitalize on them right then. We're trying to set them up so they can succeed and then want us to be on their cap table after they have had some success raising. And it's a lot better equation that way. And we do that because we are proponents of conscious capitalism.
Again, venturetainment and co-opetition. Yeah, I'm loving this. That is fantastic. And Jason, again, anyone who listens to our show or who follows us on LinkedIn, they know that we love the show of it all. We love putting on the performance. I'm the marketing guy, obviously, so I'm the one who's cornering people at shows with my own camera. I cannot wait to see people in close quarters here who are doing really cool tech and to hear it firsthand from them. So this is fantastic. Jason, I'm looking forward to it. Again, Toronto, August 28th. That's when we'll be joining Code Launch. And again, want to shout out the next show. I know Dallas is going to be in November. Is that correct?
Yeah, so our schedule this year was Houston and Minnesota. We already tackled both. Those are our only US startup events. This one is Canada and Toronto. Technology companies that want to still get involved can. They can be from anywhere in Canada. And this is just for our Canadian founders. And then we will be in Mexico for the second time in Guadalajara, which is like the Silicon Valley of Mexico, if there was one. And then we will culminate in the first ever World Championship in Dallas-Fort Worth. And your winner in Canada will have an automatic invitation to come and compete against the winners from Mexico, Houston, and Minnesota, plus 4 others we will handpick. So we will have some great ventures and 4 winners on that stage, 8 of them, November 20th at Gillies Southside Ballroom in Dallas, Texas. And that we really do intend to invite the nation, the North American venture and angel space to. So we're hoping to get a lot of folks there to come down and check out what we've been building at Code Launch for 11 years.
I love it. No, it sounds like it's going to be an absolute blast. You're going to get everybody from the North American venture scene out there. I'm just already excited about what this is going to mean for Toronto and getting all these folks in one room and getting all these innovators together for a fun time. I think that we all get very bogged down by work. It's the tail end of event season up in Canada. We just had Collision. We just had Startup Fest. This actually sounds like it'll be a nice reset and also something new. It's going to be less everybody's giving the same pitch, a lot more of, hey, look at this actual net new innovation and look at the future. So I'm excited. I love it, Jason. I can't thank you enough. Like I said, we'll be there in Toronto on August 28th. Dallas Fort Worth in November. I believe it was November 20th.
Yep.
And we'll be sure that there are links to all of this information and sign up forms in the show notes. But Jason, I can't thank you enough. Before we sign off, I'm going to throw not a curveball at you, but the $1 million question we ask all the founders who hop on the show. What's some sage wisdom you would give to anybody out there right now in 2024 who's looking to get going in the startup scene? Whether it's related to funding, whether it's related to community, what do you think is some great advice just for folks who are maybe thinking about getting an idea off the ground, but they may be a little apprehensive because you look at the headlines and it seems like it's not the best time, but there's always excuses?
Well, the first thing I'll say is on that note, I meet and talk to early stage investor people. Once it's like an affliction, sort of. Once it gets in you, you ain't getting it out of you. And these guys are always looking for the next amazing deal to jump on early. And they are addicted to the rush, okay, is the way to say it, of getting in on a great venture so early that the returns could be astronomical. Okay, so whatever you hear in the news, you can ignore that. The people that are raising funds to manage it from third parties who don't really care, they just want to deploy some capital into an early stage template fund. Yes, those people are are holding their dollars back because they're sitting in savings accounts and bonds, making a nice chunk of return with zero risk. And what you want to be doing now is going ahead and building your startup. Now, I focus in technology product startups. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. But you want to be getting this off the ground now. So when the central banks begin to win this battle, and all indications is that that is happening. Canada's already lowered rate from the central bank. So is Europe. Everybody thinks the US is right behind them. When those interest rates come down, that money will have nowhere to go and just be able to sit there and make 5.5%. And it'll be coming back in. So it may be a year from now, let's say, maybe a year and a half, it's even stronger. And then in 2 years, it's really going again. You want to have good traction at that point. That's not the time to start. The time to start is now. Because if you have traction and you have gone through a code launch, or somehow you have put together a great team that could build your product, get it to the point where the MVP is live and has traction, that is going to help the terms of your raise. And so, that's another thing that we coach is you want to raise as late as possible. The infrastructure in Canada at the Canadian government level, from what I've learned from all the people I've met, actually helps you do that because there are qualified ways to earn government level funding for your tech startup that don't exist in the US. So I would encourage my Canadian founder friends to understand how that process works and shoot for that first, and then hold on to the very, very end until you really, really, really have to raise.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of like the basic template from Jason here at CodeLaunch.
I love it, Jason. Yeah. And again, it is exactly what I think our team here at Boast would echo to folks. If anything, right now is the time to tap into that non-dilutive government funding that's uniquely available to you as a Canadian founder, if you're listening to the show from Canada today. Because we talked to Chris Hobbs, for instance, from TTT Studios, another Vancouver-based dev shop, actually. We should introduce you folks. He was talking about how during downtimes, actually, is when he finds that shred funding for R&D tax credits most valuable, because on the one hand, it helps him avoid layoffs, but he can have his teams go work on projects that will keep them employed, but also, again, drive fully unique innovation when there might not be other work to be doing. And it's not exhausting resources that he wouldn't be spending otherwise, but it's helping him get that back because it is more or less a refund on your investments, and it helps you drive your runway and extend it longer. And if you're at that early stage, again, now's the time. The funding's out there. Apply for IRAP if you're looking for a grant to get started. If you're already spending the money and you have some angel funding behind you, try to get that shred funding to stretch those investments further. But to your point, another thing I think we should really try to drive back home, find those venture partners who are addicted to the rush. I think that's a great one too. You might have a really exciting company, or you might have a really exciting idea in mind. Find something who matches that excitement. Find a venture partner who's going to meet you at that level and who's really going to have the passion to see you through no matter what, because they recognize the unicorn in you. So I love that, Jason. Can't thank you enough. Again, folks, we will see you in Toronto. We'll see you in Dallas. And yeah,